Hi everybody, thanks for coming to the workshop. Today's presenter is Chaz Goodman from Reconnect Rochester. I can't say enough good things about this organization. They're really into making Rochester a lot safer to walk, bike, hike, all that sort of stuff. I've personally seen them in action. The library I worked at on Arnett Boulevard, they made that neighborhood so much prettier and so much safer. So I have a personal thank you to give Chaz. And you guys are going to love the presentation. Thanks again, Chaz.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, my name is Chaz Goodman. I'm the Marketing and Outreach Manager for Reconnect Rochester. So we have our mission here. It's whether by bus, by rail, on bike, or on foot. We champion transportation choices to make a more vibrant and equitable community. So we envision a community connected by a robust transportation network that makes it easy for everyone, regardless of physical or economic ability to get around. We have done so many remarkable things to make it easy to drive places, but now we're trying to tip the scales and sort of balance things again. So why we do this work is there's so many things that are tied in to multimodality, which is multimodal meaning taking different modes of transportation to get around. I know we have a blog called Car Light, which is where people who choose to leave their car home for certain trips when possible. Most of us at Reconnect have cars and we do use cars. We're not anti-car, we're just trying to see if there's a trip that could be replaced where you'd normally take a car. So we have someone who wrote a blog post recently who she walks almost everywhere. Which was remarkable. I bike almost everywhere and I was still surprised, but she just plans her errands very well in advance and just enjoys the walk. So it's tied in really to safety, as I mentioned. It's really, our work is trying to make our streets safer for cyclists. We want robust bicycle infrastructure as well as things to be safe for pedestrians. We're also community health. One of our big funders, Dr. Scott McCrae, likes to say you're actually safer on your bike than on your couch. There's people who get nervous about biking in the city, but if you don't get enough exercise, that is detrimental to your health. So it's important to get people out moving, and they say just 15 minutes a day walking helps. Again, there's sort of this old cliche of like you go visit Europe, and then you come back and you're like, I hate all this stuff, but I felt good because I walked everywhere. Or if you go to a big city, even America. So that's definitely tied in. The environment obviously is a big one. Driving is one of the biggest personal things each of us does to contribute to climate change. So we're just trying to see what we can do to make it easier not to drive everywhere. Social equity, cars are incredibly expensive to buy, as well as the repairs or the insurance or the gas, or if you get into a collision. And then there's economy. It's actually cheaper for all of us, the less of us who drive, because cars are degrading the road quality. Also, again, the more people who are walking or cycling tend to be more healthy, which reduces all of our spending for health. So our story, essentially we have a pretty long timeline here. In 2009, there's a graphic designer named Mike Governale who started a blog called the Rochester Subway Blog, because we had a subway in the 1920s and it closed in 1956 after just 30 years. And he said, why did that happen? Like, a subway's really cool, like that would be great to have. And he found a lot of people agreed with him. So he was just posting lots of things, then he started to host meetings about how we can improve our public transit here. The subway would be an expensive thing to bring back, even though it would be awesome, but they really rallied around making sure our bus system could be frequent and reliable. Those are the two most important things. Is you want it to be frequent enough that you, in a perfect world, wouldn't even have to check the bus schedule. That you could just know that there's a bus coming. And you want it reliable, so if you say there's a bus at 10 a.m., you want to make sure that's when the bus is showing up. So it started as sort of a loose group of volunteers, and then in 2016 they hired Mary Starpoli to direct the organization. She was the first employee. She is still on the staff and still working. 2019 we merged with the Rochester Cycling Association, which was a bunch of different bike groups that we're all connected. I don't know, I know plenty of outdoorsy people here. Some of you may know that. We absorbed them in 2019, and now Jesse Pierce came over to our staff as our second staff member, also still a member of our staff and does most of our bicycle stuff. And then in 2020, we started a strategic plan and expanded our staff to 7 of us that are still here today. So this is our board of directors. We have 12 board members who are in 10 different zip codes. We wanted to have people from all over the city and some suburbs, as well as different races, different income levels. We want to make sure that this is a movement for everyone and that we're hearing everyone's voices and making sure that this is a Rochester that can be built for everyone. We have tons of community partners. As I mentioned, mobility is really tied into physical health, it's tied into poverty, it's tied into the environment, it's tied into so many things, and we're very lucky to have such a robust, wonderful nonprofit sector in Rochester that's working on improving our community, and we really enjoy all of our partnerships. We help each other out. So this is our staff team here. So we recently moved to a joint leadership model, which more and more nonprofits are doing. So Cody Donahue, who was our Director of Policy and Advocacy, is now our other co-executive director, along with Mary, who again was our first employee. So they handle, Cody really handles the policy and advocacy, which is pushing Rochester to be better. Mary handles the outreach, as well as the street safety projects. Lourdes Sharp on the bottom middle there, she's our project manager who works on our Safe Streets projects. That's Jesse on the left. Again, if any of you are cyclists, you probably have seen him at some point. And there's me in the middle, and then Henry does a lot of our, he basically, the government has pretty dense literature about things whenever there's a public meeting, and he can really just sort through all that stuff and make it a little more approachable for all of us. So on a day-to-day level, we do a few different events. Our Rochester Street Films happen once every fall. We almost always do it at the Little Theater. We like that's a local organization. We do it at Theater 1 where they have that stage. We frequently will have a talk or a panel discussion. Last year we did something called the Sprawl Effect, and it's basically talking about how we have built our suburbs to be almost impossible to get around without a car, and a lot of it is because we have actually made it against the law to build mixed-use zoning and to allow for more density, to allow a more walkable neighborhood, which again would make it easier to get people out walking, and also safer because you would have less cars coming through. So we try to pick a topic related to mobility and talk about it each year. We are still planning our one for this fall, but it should be in October, November. Complete Streets Makeover, that's the one that Bruce was talking about at Arnett, right from the library. That is where we have people nominate an intersection where they feel is unsafe for pedestrians or cyclists, and then we have a team of people who knows like what's possible to do and what we're allowed to do, and then once we do that, we bring the neighborhood, we have them actively involved to make an intersection safer for a community. So it's easier for people to walk around, it's easier to slow down cars, again, just to make it safer. The Transit Ambassador Program was something we started in the summer of 2023. We interviewed as many RTS riders as we could about, and just so you know, RTS is our bus system, it's a regional transit system. We had them interview people who take the bus and rely solely on the bus to say, what is it doing well? What could it be doing better? What would you change? What would you like to see? And we worked with RTS to see like what is possible. We were a consultant on the Reimagine RTS, where one of the, which was a project from a few years ago, and one of the big things we pushed for was there's 5 different bus lines that went from 30-minute service to 15-minute service, meaning there's a bus coming every 15 minutes. Again, just all trying to make it easier to leave your car at home, because like I said, all of us at Reconnect really believe in our mission, but we are still drivers because it's a tough community to not have a car. And our goal is to make it, if you don't want to drive, you don't have to. And something I do say, because I have had people tell me how much they love driving, it actually makes it more pleasant for drivers too. The less cars that are on the road, the more pleasant it is for you. If there is a protected or separated bike lane, then you don't have to deal with the cyclist in front of your car. So it does benefit everyone, even people who are very invested in driving. The bike education programming, again, this is all from Jesse Pierce, who's sort of like a one-man island. He does bike education classes, so even if you don't know how to ride a bike, he'll teach you that. If you know how to ride a bike, but you're nervous about riding in the city, he has a class on that. He even does Rochester historical tours on a bicycle. He coordinates community rides, which are so cool to be in a group of 20 or 30 people and just riding through the city or riding on our trails. He also built all these easy by bike maps. There's things called bicycle boulevards, which parallel main streets, but they're side streets and they have speed humps, so cars are less likely to be on there, and if they are, they're going slower. So you would be surprised at how I bike everywhere. My wife is a very nervous biker, but if you use the Rock Easy Bike Map, she's like, wow, I can't believe we got here, and I didn't really have to interact with the car. So it's a really great service he does there. And this is all available on our website, reconnectrochester.org. I have plenty of fun, like tchotchkes or takeaways, or even if you want to sign up for our email list, you can come see me. But yeah, our website is very detailed in the work we do. So yeah, if the sound works, I would love to play. Okay, even if the sound doesn't work, this is essentially just an example of our Complete Streets makeover. There's a local filmmaker, Alex Greenberg, who does great work here. And he just shows essentially what the process is. So again, this intersection of Orange and Warwick here was selected as a place where people feel unsafe. So we have this big fun event here where we get people to paint a design that is put together and voted on by the neighborhood. It's all focused on neighborhood involvement. So if this is your neighborhood, we send out notifications through neighborhood leaders, plaster flyers, and say, come, weigh in, this is your space. We're not here to come in and tell you what to do with your space, we're just trying to make it safer. Because again, these are nominated because they are dangerous places. So what we are trying to do is slow down cars and make it safer for bicycles and pedestrians. A big thing that we think about with street design is we've made their streets so wide, and it's very convenient for cars to go quickly. And that has been the goal of traffic control for the past 50 or 60 years, is how quickly can you get a car through a space, and how can you do it where they're not going to scratch themselves or get a fender bender, but it is at the cost of safety of pedestrians and cyclists. So we use these things called flex posts. We are frequent collaborators with Sean Dunwoody, who he's always involved in a lot of cool art projects in the city, and that's essentially, I think, what the narration has here. But yeah, again, it's a big community event. So much of our work is focused on lobbying local government and pushing for advocacy, so it's really nice whenever we can get out in the community and do something. And if we had a blank check for a few $1 million, I think we would be doing this a lot more. But we're very lucky to have some helpful partners. So there we go, yeah, USL Charitable Foundation. We also have worked with the New York State Department of Health. Again, this is, and this particular project had funding secured by Semmer Group. Oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we have a new program that we're starting that we will break ground on next month called Downtown Smart Streets. Essentially, this is, yeah, so essentially these are curb extensions right here. These are flex posts that you put at the intersection. It has cars, gives them more time to notice pedestrians. So we are doing it to 2 different intersections in Rochester, and the goal is to make sure that the cars can go a little slower for the safety of pedestrians. So here's the theory here. Again, what I was talking about is there has been, the goal is moving cars as quickly as possible. When you do bulb outs or curb extensions, they're also called, not only are you allowing the pedestrian less time in the street, but you are making the car slow down before making a turn. We have a community advisory committee of downtown business owners, downtown residents, as well as traffic safety and city government employees who are there just to make sure this is done in a way that's practical, that doesn't interfere with the day-to-day, while also making these places safer. We did a street walk, which was informed by the AARP, has a great literature on street audits where you can audit the street to see how safe it is, and we sort of use that to come up with our own metric for what would be the best two intersections to implement this. Again, there's Mary and Laura Dess, our project manager, working with Sean Dunwoody on, we're selecting 2 local artists for these first 2 projects to do the mural that would go below the flex posts to make it safer. So we are going to be implementing this at East Main Street and Gibbs Street, as well as West Broad and Fitzhugh. These were chosen, they're near East Main and Gibbs is where the Eastman School of Music, there's student housing, there's the Jazz Fest, the Fringe Festival, there's many public events, it's near the East Ave Business District. There's lots of pedestrians, there's also lots of cars, it's a very wide street, cars go very fast. We are trying to make sure that there can be safe interactions. West Broad and Fitzhugh is near City Hall, it's near the Convention Center, it's near this big parking garage. So again, lots of pedestrians and cars interacting, and just trying to make sure things are safe. So again, a large part of our work is working with local government officials to just have them consider pedestrians and bicyclists. We want to increase the frequency and reliability of the RTS buses, but also improve our bicycle infrastructure. We do have great infrastructure already, but we would always like to see more. Our goal really is, I bike with my 2-year-old, my 4-year-old, and a trailer, and I would like to see a place where I could feel safe biking with them anywhere in the city without having to worry. One of our more recent projects sort of expanded on our Transit Ambassador program. We made a video, which is on our YouTube channel, where we talk to people, again, who rely solely on the bus to get around. And just some of the more interesting quotes we sent to our state government and our local officials, and someone sent it to every member of Congress just to show them, the federal Congress, just to show them these are the stories. So we know these statistics, such as 25% of City of Rochester residents do not have a car. In Monroe County, countywide, it's actually 13%. When you consider all those suburbs, that's pretty remarkable. So we want to make sure those people are included in the conversation. But again, those are just statistics. So it's about humanizing and telling their stories. So this woman, Faye, put it very well, and that is our hope too. Is right now, most of the people who ride the bus either do it because they like that it's good for the planet, or because they really don't have a choice because it's cheaper than owning a car. We want to make it so anyone who wants to can ride the bus and feel like it's a viable option. This gentleman, Gilo, here was talking about one time a bus came a few minutes early. This happened a few times. Because the bus came a few minutes early and as a transfer, he's now 20 minutes late to work. So that's why frequency is so important. Again, Denise on the left here talks about if you're going to a festival, especially Lilac Festival, parking is a nightmare. Bus 41 goes right there. It's really nice. It's a more efficient use of space, and the more people who do that, the easier it gets for all of us. This woman, Sasha, was talking about, it considers what sort of employment she'll have, because if something is too far out and too hard to get to, she's not going to do that because she doesn't want to have to buy a car. So again, our website has lots of great stuff. This map here with all the dots is actually a crash map. Now that is over 10 years. We're not trying to scare people off biking or walking because we want people to do that, but we do track every time that there's a crash between a car and a pedestrian or a car and a bicyclist, just to show where the need is. So you can see over 10 years it happens lots of places, and that's our goal, is to make sure we're reducing that. We have a blog where, again, it's all about humanizing the work that we do. Our Car Light blog is great. Actually, 4 of our staff members wrote Car Light blog posts before we became staff members, myself included. So we joke that if you write a Car Light blog post, you'll become a staff member. We have a social media. We actually have so much going on our bike social media. It's separate social media handles. So you can follow Reconnect Rochester on your preferred social media or Rock Cycling. We do lots of events. We do speaking opportunities such as this. If you have a Google alert from Reconnect Rochester, which I do, it's remarkable. We come up in the news at least once a week because we're always doing stuff. And Cody, our director of policy, is tireless with his advocacy work. So people who say, like, what can I do to help? The first thing I always say is consider a trip whenever you're in your car. Think, could I walk here? Could I take a bus? Could I ride my bike? Could I carpool? These are all questions that I try to think about each time I take one. I do have friends who say, like, oh, don't tell Chaz I drove. I drive places too. We're not here to shame. It's more just what is possible. What can you consider? So we always tell people get multimodal. If you're feeling ambitious, we have weekly action alerts whenever the city is debating something or doing a road project. We always encourage them to consider traffic calming infrastructure to make it safer for pedestrians. If you have a story about getting by without a car, for instance, one of our new board members was very car-centric his entire life, and then in his mid-30s, he has epilepsy, which he had under control, but he had a seizure. The New York state law is you're not allowed to drive for a year after seizure, and he was worried about how he'd get to work, how he would do all that, so he bought a bicycle and started taking that, and then he started taking the bus, and now he says he sold his car and he never wants to drive again. So it's really cool. It's interesting. All of us on the staff, none of us really started out so adamant about this. We sort of it just happened by accident. I moved to Chicago when I was 22, and my dad's like, oh, I was clearing out the house. He's like, do you want your bike too, since you have the moving van? So I threw my bike in there, and I have never owned a car until I had kids. But yeah, for all of my 20s, I never had a car because I never needed one. The other thing is we have these bicycle license plates. They say, give bikes 3 feet of space. It's the law. You put them on the back of your bike, and it is actually the law. It's good to remind drivers. And I have talked to drivers about this where they say, like, well, it's insane, if a bike is in my way, what am I supposed to do? And I say, you treat it like you would, like if a car is stopped on the shoulder and their flashers are going, you wait until there's a clear way before you go around it. It's the same thing with a bicycle. It's all about being safe. You support our online shop. I have our Reconnect Rochester shirt. It's well loved. You can tell it's been washed a lot. We have lots of cool stuff. We have mugs, we have bags, and you can invite us to our presentation, which you already did, but we love to talk about this work. Just wanted to let you guys know, we are moving into May is Rochester Bike Week, so we have lots of really cool group rides coming up, lots of Wednesday rides. Our local history bike tours, led by Jesse, are happening. There's 4 this summer. The on-bike smart cycling classes are great because, again, if you know how to bike but just aren't sure how to get started biking in the city, that's a great way to get started. And we're excited about this coalition we're building with New Yorkers for Transportation Equity, which is trying to convince New York State to consider funding multimodal projects instead of building highways, which again are incredibly expensive. So that is essentially a rundown of what we do at Reconnect Rochester. I'm happy to take questions, or if you want to talk to me afterwards, or sign up for our email list, I would love to talk to you. So thank you very much. I feel like I really just like along the river, the Erie Canal Trail, I'm just really fond of. Because I'm actually in Brighton, so I think that's the easiest one for me. But, yeah.
Do you know what's going on with the trail I'm trying to think direction.
Is this by Durand Eastman, or? No, I actually don't know about that. Our website does have a thing on upcoming street projects. There is a link there, but I'm not familiar with that one in particular.
It's definitely a trail project, it's not a street.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm not as familiar with that one. I'm not sure. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't really know. I know we do a lot of our focus on the streets in the city itself, but yeah, I'm not sure.
I noticed that finally a curb cut was put in on the Plymouth, where they direct you to ride a bike lane on the street.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then get back onto the river trail. But it used to be you had to stop and lift your bike over a curb. Finally, now there's a curb cut there.
It's those little things. It's also, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But no, it's so important. It reminds me of, like they say, as a parent, when you push a stroller, it radicalizes you to be a disability activist, because it is, you realize how challenging it is for people on wheels to get around.
Is there a place to report things like that?
So for that, I think the best thing is 311. I know Monroe County has a community safety board that they started in the fall. So if you're concerned about pedestrian or cycle safety, we encourage people to talk to the Monroe County Traffic Safety Board.
Okay.
And did you have one in the back?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's just the West Riverway Trail. So just like we have a trailway on the east side of the river, they're continuing the trail on the west side of the river, and down through the west.
Yeah, but when I was just there, on Sunday, yeah, and it's real different than it was the last time I was there. Something's going on. Cut down the forest.
So
Yeah, a lot of trees have been cut down.
and
And along the whole forest.
is it along the side of the
Alongside that trail on the west side.
Yeah, I think it must be like some kind of
Yeah, and I apologize, I'm not as familiar with the trails, although I am a big fan of them. Are there any other questions or anything? Or? Yes?
Yeah, you mentioned buses and the availability for people who don't have transportation. Are there buses that take them to, say, preserves, nature centers, things like that? Is there kind of access there?
So what I think about RTS is they're really fantastic if you are going somewhere in the city. If you're going in the suburbs, they have the on-demand service, which is good, but you do need to plan ahead. So they need at least 24 hours notice. I find like within a few days it's good, and if you call the on-demand service and schedule something, then you're definitely in good shape for trails or for other areas or the suburbs. It's definitely helpful. My grandma uses it because she's in Webster, because there's not a lot of bus service in Webster. But yeah, if you can plan your trip ahead of time, I think RTS Demand is great. Although I would love to see as good service in the suburbs as we have in the city, but right now it's mostly on demand.
How do you pay for on-demand? How does that work?
So on demand, it's a separate app, but you pay for it. You just get the on demand app, and then you can pay directly, or you can pay with. I believe you can pay cash when entering, but I know that you can pay via the app or with a credit card. Yeah.
Do you have a street makeover coming up on Joseph Avenue?
Yeah, so we're doing Avenue D in Hollenbeck, actually, is our Complete Streets Makeover, and that will break ground, I believe, at the end of May. And then our Downtown Smart Streets project will happen in June, which is very fun, because we're going to do that area at East Main and Gibbs right before the Jazz Festival. So really hope it doesn't rain. Yes, yeah.
Have you explored any association with Adventure Cycling? They have a lot of contacts with cities across the United States, even awarding them gold, silver, and bronze recognition in terms of what they're doing in their cities.
That's interesting. I have not heard of Adventure Cycling, although I bet our cycling manager has. I know we're close with the League of American Cyclists, so that's where our cycling manager is licensed to teach cycle safety from the League of American Cyclists, and they also have a gold, silver, bronze rating system for bike infrastructure. But no, I'll have to check with him on the adventure cycling, because he's probably heard of it, because it's funny, my boss told me, she's like, Jesse is an island on himself, I want you to focus on transit and community outreach, because no one can beat Jesse. But I'll check with him on that, because that's worth checking out. It is actually great too, especially if you're a cyclist, the League of American Cyclists is a national organization. They're really great, and they work on lobbying the federal government. In mid-March, me and Jesse and a few other people from Rochester were part of a contingent where we visited all 300 plus members of Congress to lobby for bike lanes. We were actually there when the federal government said they were canceling projects that have the word bike lane in them, but we are still there just to show that this matters, because it's worth pushing for. But yeah, so I highly recommend checking out the League of Cyclists, but I will definitely check out Adventure Cycling. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's amazing how much any kind of change can make people come in and do cycling. I visited my niece down in Nashville, and along the French Broad River area, they have like a divider lane that separates a bike lane and a walking lane from traffic. So it is so well used because you don't have to worry about the traffic, because there's a huge divider between the traffic lanes and the biking lanes.
I love that. No, I completely agree. I think that's one thing. I think there is a small contingent of, like if you say like federally, like there's a small contingent of people in the U.S. who want to be in a car no matter what, and there's a small contingent of people who don't ever want to be in a car no matter what. I think the vast majority, from what I've learned and from what I've read, doesn't have strong opinions. And if you create strong cycling infrastructure, people do come. Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Oh, great. Oh, great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, you guys are members. Because, yeah, it's a great organization. I just became a member a few years ago, and I love it so much.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad to hear it.
Last Thursday. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Could you just say again how the Gibb Street, et cetera, were chosen?
Okay.
What's the what, sorry?
The Gibb Street renovation and the Joseph Dale, how were those chosen again?
So the Complete Streets makeover is chosen. We open that to the community. Anyone who feels unsafe in any intersection can nominate an intersection, and then we talk to the city on what's viable, what we're really allowed to do, and then we involve the community in what's changing. The downtown Smart Streets, which is the East Main and Gibbs one, that was more, we wanted that to be downtown because there's such a high level of pedestrians and cars interacting. So that was just a committee of downtown business owners and residents picking those. But yeah, we will have a nomination process again in the late summer, early fall. So if you are on our newsletter or follow our social media, we'll be blasting that everywhere. I really appreciate you folks listening. Thank you so much, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Chance. And everybody, there's a card for Julia Boren at Coffee and Cookies. She's our outgoing director at the main club level. So we want to give her thank you.